Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning again, the youth. Good morning. Good morning, change makers. Good morning. So welcome to the Youth Changemakers Forum here at the United Nations in Vienna. It's a gathering of visionaries, of doers, of dreamers who are ready to make an impact. Today, we are not only in conference hall, but we are in the global hub of action, where ideas meet purpose and passion meets transformation. So just look around you. You are part of a diverse powerhouse of young leaders. We have participants coming from 15 countries, and I would like you to stand up once I call your country where you are currently residing or where you originally came from. So the largest participants from Austria. Let's welcome everyone. Thank you. Next, from Czech Republic. Thank you. From Philippines. Yes, thank you. People from Slovakia. They're arriving and there's like 30 of them. People from Hungary. Yes, thank you. Participants from Poland. There you go. Participants from Ukraine. Yes, thank you. Germany. From Canada. Thank you. And for those who are from UK, Italy, Spain, Pakistan, Malaysia, El Salvador, Peru, and India, please stand up. They are coming. So each of you brings a unique story, a unique voice, and a unique drive to build a better future. Today, we are here to challenge ourselves, to reflect on the privileges and responsibilities that come from our education and opportunities. So we also ask the tough questions. How do we use what we've learned to drive sustainable change? How do we connect our skills to real-world impact? So we will dive into powerful discussions, hear from remarkable speakers, and witness inspiring projects that prove that a youth-led change is not a dream, it's happening right now. So from SDG storytelling to community resilience, from leveraging media to policy shaping, we will explore what and truly means to be a change maker in the 21st century. I am Marisol Rodriguez from the European Network of Filipino Diaspora. I am currently the chair for 2025 to 2026. We have 17 member countries. We are an organization which envisions a thriving community in connecting Euro-Filipinos, wherein the talent, skills, culture, and contributions are recognized globally and locally. The organization is built with SDG framework in mind. Today, we are empowering the youth and communities through our Diaspora to Dialogue programs. We are building the organization as Center for Excellence, wherein we will be focused on learning and development. And lastly, we will create and support sustainable projects. We are deeply honored to be supported by the Women's Federation for World Peace. We have the president here, Madam Renate Amisbauer. Thank you very much. You are an inspiration to us. You are the champions for the roles of women in building a peaceful, inclusive, and just world. Thank you. We also recognize the president of the United Nations Correspondents Association in Vienna, UNCAV, Mr. Abdallah Sharif. Thank you very much. So they are an independent body that believes in the power of communication, dialogue, and international collaboration. We are very thankful also to Dr. Heidi Steigerberger, who is the Federal Ministry of Education and Research Science representative. So to all our partners, sponsors, speakers, to our lead organizer, he is the force, the one force that brings us together, who has the vision, the dedication, and relentless hard work. We would like to say thank you to Andy Peñafuerte III, who's seated there. Coming back, so behind or beyond the sessions, this forum is about connections. The person sitting next to you could be your next collaborator, co-founder, and a lifelong friend. So lean in, ask questions, challenge perspectives, and most importantly, bring your energy, ideas, boldness into every conversation. So let's make history together. Today is ENFiD Youth Changemakers Forum 2025. Thank you very much. And for the meantime, we will also listen to or watch a filmmaker or a film showing of ESDA.
باقاليش كاكهات ويروشي هيالا مختاري ما هزوبو قدما قو أباقاليش تبخير نينا عيالي ما كتاما هالكرتو ما تكر قو أسن زانا مويتشماكا قو هيتال زاروابي
Good morning, everyone. My name's Daisy, and I'll be your moderator for the first session. But before we get onto that, I'd just like to say what a powerful film this is. And it's so nice that this kind of film is being shown in front of such a diverse audience of people. And I'd just like to mention that the filmmakers, Halime and Ron, are sat over here, if you can give us a wave. So you'll have a chance to hear from them in the second half of today after lunch. So if you've got any questions, maybe it's a good idea to note that down right now because you might forget. But I think there'll also perhaps be a second viewing of the film later today. But for now, I'd like to begin today's session on learning for global impact, connecting skills to community development. So many of us in the room have access to world-class education, but the real challenge is how can we translate that into that privilege into action? How do we ensure that knowledge and opportunities don't just benefit us individually, but we can take that and contribute that to sustainable development and positive change in communities that need it most? So today we'll explore what it means to have academic privilege and how we can use it responsibly. So we'll make sure that that knowledge leads to real-world impact, whether that be in education, health, or sustainability. So today we're joined by two very special speakers who will each give a presentation before we move on to a fireside chat and some time for Q&As at the end. So our first speaker is Dr. Jane Gerardo Avaya, and she is here with us in person today, and we have a second speaker, Besir Talai, who should be joining us online from the US. So our first speaker, Dr. Jane, is the president of the Philippine Austrian Cultural and Educational Society, PACES, and a recipient, excuse me if my pronunciation is not good, of the Panana Nung Filipino Award for the 2024 Presidential Awards for Filipino individuals and organizations overseas. That was a mouthful. So Dr. Jane holds a PhD in applied geology and geothermal hydrology and retired as a director for the Asia and Pacific program after 30 years of service in an international organization based in Vienna. She's over 40 years of professional work experience in fields of environmental, geothermal energy, and program management and technical cooperation cooperation, both in the Philippines and internationally. So, Dr. Jane, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daisy. Good morning, everyone. It's a big privilege to be here, standing before you. You who are representing several countries, and for us to be here in the most livable city, Vienna. It is truly a privilege to be able to drink clean water from the tap and also to breathe clean air, and to come here to this venue on a very efficient transport system without traffic. But to me, more than a privilege, it is a big blessing. It is a big blessing to have worked for 30 years in an international organization here in Vienna, within these premises, in fact. And so, an organization with a noble mandate. But somewhere in the world, there are people, young and old, who don't have these privileges, and privileges that we often take for granted. In the Philippines, we just came from there a week ago, we have a young girl whose story became viral when she graduated top of her class. Nothing unusual for a hardworking person, except that this young girl walked barefoot, I think barefoot, every day to her school in the mountains with only a plastic bag in tow. In this bag is boiled potato from her family's backyard. Because while rice is a staple food for us Filipinos, rice for them is like gold because of poverty. We interviewed 8 years ago by Skype our aspiring PACES scholar. One had to go to a mall to connect to internet. Another had to borrow a smartphone to be able to go online. We here are very privileged to have internet and have easy communication all the time. There are many more contrasts that deepen our appreciation for the privileges that we enjoy, and above all, deepen our realization for the responsibility that comes with it. Because yes, ladies and gentlemen, for any privilege comes a responsibility. Responsibility to ourselves to treasure the gifts that we have, and responsibility to share our gifts to others who are less fortunate. We are at a forum today organized by ENFiD that gives us the opportunity to reflect on this and discuss pathways for the youth to have a role in development. If we look at the world today, there are many challenges that we commonly share. Take plastic pollution. The United Nations says that by 2050, there will be more plastics in the ocean than fishes. Today, we read reports of microplastics in our food chain, in the water and land. Climate change results to severe impacts affecting the lives of many, affecting properties, affecting crops, which are depended on by the very poor sector of our society. Zoonoses like the coronavirus continue to affect our health. And in 2015, you have heard about the Sustainable Development Goals, when 193 countries formulated this as a global call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. But let us examine the challenges. In 2017, 2.1 billion people had no access to clean water. 124 million people in 51 countries face food insecurity. 69 million children under the age of 5 are acutely or severely malnourished. All these need solutions, innovations, and mitigation actions. Education, which is the fourth SDG, for inclusive and equitable quality education, is therefore paramount in order to address understand, and reach the targets of sustainable development. Education expands the ability of the human mind to appreciate the creation we live in, to benefit from it while respecting its boundaries. Education enables a progressive society and healthy humanity. Through education, solutions can be found and innovations developed to address these challenges. But to what extent is it available? In general, the achievement of the goals of 2030 is far from its target. Unless actions are instituted, about 84 million will be out of school by 2030 because there are many factors. The primary factor is poverty. There are many young people who want to receive education but have no means to do so. They live in far-flung areas where schools are inaccessible. Even if school tuitions are free, they need financing for their daily sustenance, school supplies, and uniforms. Many of the school children are malnourished. How can learning be effective on an empty stomach and lack of proper nutrition? The youth of today, yourselves, ourselves, constitute about 16% of the population of the world. And in the Philippines alone, 30% of the population. That translates to 30 million. Imagine a workforce of 30 million people who can work for the development of the nation, for the achievement of the SDGs. And the youth of today, therefore, is the hope of the future. The inner strength of the youth of today has to be empowered to be able to contribute to social development. I'll hurry. The inner strength that awakens the abilities and interests to pursue dreams with focus, endurance, and courage. Therefore, empower the youth with education and training, not just on technology, but including ethics and moral values. To be an asset as a productive member of the society, to break the cycle of poverty, empower the youth for good leadership in the future, to be responsibly aware of the needs of others. Therefore, organizations like mine, the Filipino Austrian Cultural and Educational Society, establish a scholarship program. And we have produced 8 scholars already. And right now we have 13 scholars, 6 in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, and 7 in vocational. And we hope that by spring, we would have 30 registrants for the leadership, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship program. You can ask me about it later. So we therefore wish to continue this program if we have funding, funds from donors and supporters. The youth can give back easily because this is what the matter is about. Through knowledge sharing, by working together, by contributing to existing programs, through volunteering, through investments in the country. But this can be daunting if done alone. So it's important to collaborate with others. So the youth needs to be open to wisdom, to pursue dreams and soar with these dreams, and be a role model, because each one now needs a role model. Each one of us has a legacy to leave. Every little drop is important. Every little action is important. And as Mother Teresa has assured us, in this life, we cannot always do great things, but we can do small things with great love. And so I'll wrap up with 7 words. Act on your passion and serve with love. I hope you're inspired and inspire others. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jane. I'm sure that everyone would agree that that was a very insightful talk. So we've just heard that our second speaker is not able to join us at the moment. So we're going to move into the fireside chat with myself and Dr. Jane. So I'd like to start by asking, so with your decades of experience in technical cooperation, program management, and you've seen probably firsthand how education, science, and other sort of industries and policy kind of intersect. So what do you think are the biggest challenges in ensuring that academic knowledge leads to real tangible change in the communities that really need it?
Mm. Very deep question. First and foremost, there has to be education, of course, and to be able to apply it. But as I said in my talk, education, while we have all in this room the opportunity to receive education, it's not readily available. Perhaps to many more people than us here. The other point is the use of that education and training, because education is to continue. No? You have to continue learning in life. Nowadays, there's such a byword as lifelong learning, acquiring new skills. But it's not just a matter of acquiring it, it's really utilizing it for a greater purpose. Oftentimes, we get education, we get training for a purpose. We need to utilize it. We need to utilize it for the greater good. Sometimes, as I said, it's possible to do it alone, but there's also a saying, if you want to go fast, do it alone. But if you want to grow big, to have a greater reach, collaborate with others. So collaboration is very, very important. If you look at what needs to be done, perhaps not only sustainable development goals, but even in ordinary aspects of life, you also have, you need to collaborate with someone else. Mhm. And so, therefore, acquire the skills, acquire the education, those of us who can enable for others to have education, let us try to do it, but also collaborate. Collaborate with others because that's what life is about. That's a very, very old saying, no man is an island. Until now, I heard it when I was a young girl. Until now, I know it's very true.
Thank you. That was really a great answer. And I really loved what you said about making sure it's lifelong. What I see a lot in my work, so I work in a regional charity in the UK where we help a lot of youth who may be struggling to get into work and education, and they would usually be 18 to 26 bracket. So they have had compulsory education until the age of 18 in the UK, which we're really fortunate to have. But we often see them drop off, and it can be due to a lack of confidence or a lack of awareness about what kind of opportunities are out there. So how do you think we can make sure that the education people do get turns into that kind of lifelong sort of skills and know how to sort of navigate the world after?
Yes. I skipped it in my speech because I think I prepared a long speech, but I ran out of time. Um, Education is important, but not only in technology, not only in hard stuff. It's important also to have skills for what we call in work, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. Uh, that comes really, if we look at it, from ethical part of education, moral values, values formation. We in PACES, the Filipino Austrian Cultural and Educational Society, we have established this scholarship program. We help the students to acquire STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math. You can imagine it's a little bit hard stuff, but we also incorporate together with our partners in the Philippines, moral values, values formation, because that's what is needed these days. Even I talk with friends and colleagues elsewhere, and young parents, for example, this is a concern. There has to be values formation together with hard stuff education, ethics, for example. Even if nowadays I think the top topic, even the UN has had recently an education summit. The focus has been on AI. I don't know much about AI, but part of the focus of discussion is the ethical aspect. So there has to be a good balance, not just in being able to learn the hard stuff, but to be able to use it for the good of humanity. At the end of the day, it's all about the good of humanity. That's our purpose in life. We learn, we do things for the greater good.
Absolutely. I think what you said about balance and having the morals kind of instilled is really important. I would just like to sort of bring it back again when you mentioned earlier about the basics of some people don't even have education. So that's a really important question as well, is how can we make sure we're giving back and making those opportunities for people who might not have the same privilege that we might have. So what are some kind of key considerations that you might have when designing these projects to ensure that we are being inclusive and not unintentionally reinforcing any inequalities, especially when you mentioned about, you know, breaking the cycle of poverty earlier?
Mhm. Yes, so if you look even at development organizations, also in the UN, and you know that I was working also for technical cooperation for many, many years, it's always important to have a clear outcome of the project. Mhm. It's not just about doing something, but ensuring that there is a clear outcome. It contributes to a certain positive change. We call that outcome. Some call it impact. But within that, there has to be considerations. For example, um, how are women involved? How does it affect climate? Is there anything related to climate change? These are our challenges, some of the challenges for today. Um, how is it going to be? You need to have a clear um, objective, of course, and the outcome, but you need to have clear results, what we call products. We call that within the results-based management approach of program project management. Uh, and then, of course, you need to have also different stakeholders. We would imagine that a certain project cannot just be undertaken by a single individual, but by a specific group that really has the mandate for it. For example, you cannot expect a health project to be done by the industry that has nothing to do with the health aspects, for example, just to give a simple example. And then, of course, you need to have clear activities, how to do that. It's not just as simple as acquiring something, acquiring a tool, and not being able to channel it to who really should be benefiting from it within a certain period of time. But you also need to monitor. The monitoring, ensuring that that the results are being used are reaching the beneficiaries. So that's part of intentionally reinforcing that you have equality, and to make sure also that the stakeholders or the beneficiaries are involved, but not just one sector of the society. And there's a clear consciousness about women being involved in the project and women to benefit from it. That's part of, I think, the UN target to make sure that there is equality.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think what you said about monitoring is, yeah, really important, that we're making sure that those results and the changes that we're making are actually getting to the people that we are aiming to serve. So, yeah, thank you. I'm also wondering, so what, for people who might be in the room today, what kind of skills and resources do you think that maybe European graduates have that could be repurposed for this kind of work to help build communities and education?
I was just talking with a dear colleague this morning, with Dr. Steigenberger, telling about our conviction in our organization, and having had just some 10 weeks in the Philippines because of the award from the president of our country. And Together with my husband, I've had the opportunity to look at what are the needs, especially in education in the Philippines, and the purpose of which is because it's linked to our goals within PACES, our conviction. And we are here in a very fortunate environment, Austria and Europe also, where there are many excellent resources. A lot of experts here are available, and with whom we can have collaboration. Um, Collaboration in order to transfer some skills, some knowledge for example, the education sector. And there's so much openness in our country, in the sectors with whom we have spoken to. So Austria in Europe has a lot of capabilities in science. For example, our conviction is for STEM. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, is directly related to development. If we look at statistics in Europe, there are many STEM graduates in Europe, and that's why there's so much development in Europe, because you need to have STEM education for development, while not exclusively just focusing on it, because many of the people also have aptitudes for skills, vocational skills, for social sciences, for humanities, but particularly focusing on STEM, that is very essential for development. And a country like ours, the Philippines, there is so much need for STEM education. One, to enhance the quality of the education in STEM, to help our lofty ambitions for development. And I'm sure other countries also have lofty ambitions for development. What you need there, STEM graduates, graduates in engineering, in sciences, in mathematics, etc., in technologies. And you also need to have convergence, working together. So if we can have collaboration, Philippines and also Austria and other countries in Europe, and especially the young generation, you have so much energy to share. There's so many ways to do it. One is, first, just be good at what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, just be good at it. It's part of being responsible for the privilege that we all have here, that you have, in a wonderful environment. We have just seen a very emotional film. We are very fortunate to be in this situation where we are. But comes, as I said, with responsibility. And so just being good at what you are and being responsible, that's one way. Second, you go beyond yourself. You help. You contribute your knowledge, contribute your energy, your ideas. People like us, my husband and I, we are retirees. We still have a lot of energy. But I can just imagine the young people have 10 times more energy than us. But that energy can come because of passion for wanting to do something good and to contribute. And even if we are in our senior age, we have passion to want to contribute. So passion can reverberate, but what is needed is to act on that passion. Do not let it remain as passion. Act on it in order to serve. And serve either individually, collectively, sharing small things, small ideas, small efforts. Because as Mother Teresa has said, we cannot really expect to do very great things. Not everybody can do that. But we can just do small things with great love.
Thank you so much. That's really, really powerful. And I think so important that you said we use our energy and our enthusiasm to make change in the communities. Just sort of building on that, do you have any maybe examples of kind of actionable ways, like if anyone today leaves this feeling inspired and they want to do something to start making a change, some steps that they could possibly take? Do you have any ideas in
Yes.
terms of that?
Yes, one of which is volunteering. Volunteering, and the more I study, the more we study in PACES, what are the opportunities, we realize that there are countless opportunities to volunteer. It's just a matter of finding a good match between your skill and and what is needed. Second, there are internships, for example, academic institutions, governments can have this exchange of opportunities. I remember I graduated from Boden Kultur Universiteit, and I heard some time ago that there is also an exchange of students with, for example, a country like ours, like the Philippines, to help do uh, what needs to be done. For example, small building of certain infrastructure, donating certain small facilities, small for teaching. Those are the possibilities. Uh, so volunteering, being part, being part of a collective effort, because there can be big ideas. We have big ideas, but we need the hands and feet and the mind to do those. So please use your energy to volunteer. And in so doing, you acquire your skills and experience that will also help you, propel you to your career. Because young people, the main interest is, of course, to build your career. I was very young before, and that was also my big interest. Not knowing that one day there is an opportunity to deliver all of those. But as I said to one young person before, you don't need to wait for a long, long time. Do it now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jane. That's really powerful. And I think I would just like to sort of echo that. I also started as a volunteer when I was younger and volunteered in Hiroshima, in the UK, in many places. And then that kind of led in my career for me to become a volunteer coordinator for a charity. And now I manage over 150 volunteers who run basically our services to support disadvantaged people in the community. And it's just so important. We couldn't do the work without them. But I think also as well, I've learned so much that, as you said, I've benefited and I've gained, and really it's helped me in my own sort of career progression. So I can only agree so much with what you've said about volunteering. But thank you so much for that chat. That was really insightful. We have 10 minutes to get some questions from the audience. So if anyone has any questions, if you could, for Dr. Jane, if you could please raise your hand, and then when we pick on you, if you could let us know your name, where you're from, and your question. So, yes.
Good morning. Probably I'll start the ball rolling. I'm Reza Alenzuela. I'm from the Oriental Institute of the Czech Academy of Sciences. I'm a librarian and a researcher. Well, what I wanted to say first is I'm elated to hear your speech, Dr. Abaya, and I can see here the convergence of role models and change makers. So it's really an amazing opportunity for us to be together in these conversations. Me on the end, where like I can just be a support, and then there's the energetic younger generation. I have a very broad question, which is related to what I'm interested in. We were talking about sustainability. We were talking about UN 2030 agenda. And one of those things, like we all know, 2030 is coming closer. And I think most of us here are contributing in our own way. Some of my panelists this afternoon have this related stories that connect to it. But what I'm always curious in a broader sense from your perspective and from your endeavors is what's next after the UN 2030 agenda? And from your perspective, where next could youth be playing an important role in the next cycle? Because we know we started with the millennial goals and now we have the UN 2030 agenda, but it's closing. And I know the work doesn't end there. What do you think could probably be the role of youth?
Wonderful, Raisa. Yes, in fact, that is a very important thought to have. If we look at the 2030 agenda, uh, many countries cannot is far behind. There's only 5 years to 2030, the target. Practically all countries, I think, are far behind. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic has slowed down and in some cases backtracked the progress. Um, if you look at 2030 and beyond, and in fact, I was looking, in the Philippines alone, we have youth of 30 million, youth from 10 to 24 years old. That's the definition. And I think in Europe, I have the data that 16% is 1.3 billion. So therefore, if we just have a simple projection, extrapolation, these are our leaders for the future. 24 by 5 years, 30s, you see leaders in their 30s. You project further in 20 years. These are really the population and the leaders of the future. It's important to be aware now of the SDGs, because if we really look at it, the SDGs are quite brilliant. I am convinced of that. No, it's so comprehensive. It's so comprehensive. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, with I think 163 targets, performance indicators, they're so specific and clear to even guide us. And let's say we have a fantastic situation 5 years from now that we reach those goals. We just don't stop there. We should continue. We should sustain. We should sustain. And we should use this as a learning experience, the SDGs, what to sustain and bring forth to the future. I think it will be a continuous target. It has to be a continuous target. Perhaps the performance indicators will just be refined a little bit more, because that is you have to also adjust through time. But we could not stop there, even if we have achieved it. And so the youth of today is the future indeed. And I saw there is a infographic that really projects that will be about this generation now, of course, will be carried on in the next, from 10 years from now, about 26% of the population. So that's huge. That's very huge. So the youth of today has a role to play. And so the youth of today has the responsibility to know, to be informed, to get education, to be trained, to get the experience, and bring that to the future.
Thank you so much. And just one last thing that I wanted to add is that, well, I totally agree with you, because with this advancement of emerging and to these emerging technologies, you just mentioned in passing about AI, these are the turf of the younger generations, which probably they could help us a lot. I always remember a simple concept. I'm promoting open science as part of my job. And we were always just saying, like, our goal is to participate, to help make every researcher good at research and not just good at AI, which probably could add in the future of what we needed to be sustainable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Raisa. And may I take the opportunity? You mentioned you're with a library in Czech Republic,
Yes.
and the Philippines needs so much good materials for and libraries?
I'm building digital libraries in the Philippines. I work with the Special Library Association and the American Libraries Association for International Relations. I'll be happy to help you if ever there's a way to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, both. It's lovely to see collaboration starting. Has anyone else got any questions to ask? Yes, please.
Hello there, my name is Nicholas from Austria, and I'm currently working with Junior Achievement for the past, I don't know, 7 years. And my question would be, how do you think that we can motivate young people to do more, to do the extra mile and give back? Because I've noticed since COVID that this want to give back has a bit changed, at least in Austria and Central Europe.
Thank you for that question, because part of the challenge, really, and I think not just in Europe, but elsewhere too, is to motivate the young people, to motivate the young people. And in fact, I had it here as what I omitted from my speech is be not afraid to explore, to learn, to pursue your dreams. But these kinds of messages, it's important to originate also from the young generation. I noticed, for example, a senior a person like me may not easily resonate to the young generation. I have nieces and nephews also, so uh, I sense that the young generation can listen to each other, or would like to listen more to each other. You speak the same language, you use the same technology. You're all savvy, technology savvy. The older generation have limitations with respect to technology. So therefore, you speak the same language. You can encourage each other. You can encourage each other, and encourage each other to marvel at, be amazed at what we have, to explore and be amazed at what we discover, to also let your fellow young people be aware that there's so much privilege that we have to be grateful for, especially here in Europe. So part of which is to be aware of what is out there. And through information, through availability of information, one can easily see what is limited out there and what we have here in a developed country that we can feel responsible for in order to encourage the other young people. So be the role model yourself, because we don't know, you don't know, that by just behaving in a responsible manner, you are inspiring others unknowingly, and you are in fact impacting their lives positively. So by being a good, responsible adult, young adult, that is an important contribution to encourage, but also speak to them. Encourage dialogues, for example. I think there are many of those opportunities. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but one more? Okay. Yeah, can we hear from over here? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Imgat Mentler. I'm from the Women's Federation. I would like to ask you, I agree with you, education is one of the most important thing. We get a lot of scientific education, but you mentioned the value-based education is missing. So what do you think, where to get these values? Because I think young people also suffer because of this emotional or artistic is some lack in our society, and this lack of love. So how to create this environment to create love and give hope, and yeah, that young people will get the direction, so that we solve all this violence and hate, and like you made this film, and we know all what's happened in the society, so how to contribute in a better way. I wanted to ask you about your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, the family is really a starting point. The family is the smallest cell, I would say, where one can cultivate love. And even old people like me and my husband, we rely on family um, for many things. So especially for young people, it's, I think, paramount to really have, to recognize that there is love that can be nurtured, can have, without doubt, within the family. So it's important to nurture that family value. Of course, young people have to go to school. And I remember when I was a small child, they would say that the teacher is the second parent. I hear some, I see a nod from Dr. JV and from Dr. And yes, our old generation had that and say that the educators are our second parents. So it's important for the educators to have, to incorporate this ethical and values formation into their teaching, because the children go into these schools. The third is the society, of course. The society. I really appreciate so much our life here in Vienna. That's why my husband and I decided to retire here, because you see a lot of dignity and friendliness uh, in just the interactions anywhere. We live somewhere, you just walk in the street and you have politeness. There's so much gratitude that you can see. I think these are small actions that can easily reverberate. And without knowing that those little actions actually generate a big impact in the formation and the molding of the individual. And hopefully, in time, there can be no magic. Hopefully, in time, there can be an improvement in the next generation. But unless we start now, tomorrow will be too late. So it's important to do that consciously, either through formal actions or through informal actions. I hope I have answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Time? Okay, one last
The
question
gentleman
from.
there was
Oh,
raising his
okay,
hand,
yeah.
and then
Yeah, okay. Can we hear from him, please?
So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. In general, I have the question. I see so many bad trends happening, like for young people, especially on social media. Drugs, alcohol, bad things. But I see it not as problem. I see it as a product of certain things that happening in young people. So, Valentin, and I'm sorry, I'm just not common speaking for many people. Valentin and I, we are from YGPD. We are interested in serving humanity for good future, for peaceful future in ourselves, right? And what we are seeing that so many people have so much negativity in themselves. So like, can you give like advice there? What you feel, what you see on this topic? Because sometimes we are seeking for so many solutions in this world, on this planet. In the same time, there's this big struggle we are facing in ourselves, right? So many people, and I'm very happy for getting guidance there. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the struggle to find purpose for our being is a lifelong struggle. That's why there's an excellent book, which I think is a great bestseller by Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. All of us have a purpose for our existence, for why we are created. And sometimes it's we recognize it immediately, or there are many factors that distract us from doing it. But it's also, the way I see it, it's not immediately, it's not immediate that we recognize what is the purpose for my being here, for my being in this world. What am I supposed to do and to be? So there's so much discernment that needs to be done. I think all of us have to discern. One advice I had, in fact, in my shortened speech is to appreciate the creation, the environment. Here in Austria, I love the mountains so much. In summer, my husband and I would go up to the mountains, and really I feel a very profound feeling of appreciation of, wow, we have a beautiful world. Wow, how can that waterfall be there? And how can these mountains be like this? But what I have noticed is there's maybe the appreciation or the feeling of gratitude is missing. In perhaps the young can exercise that more, to have more feeling of appreciation for what we have. And I say even that can even maybe inspire the young to discern and have an inner strength. I have felt it, so that's why I can share it. Because I noticed young people, including myself, we only look at our phones. Even we see something beautiful, we don't notice it anymore. We call it, my husband and I would call it, the slice of life. There's so wonderful things happening around us, even in the U-Bahn, for example. But maybe 50% of the people are on their phones, including myself. I fell one time because I was reading my phone. So I think that's something, very simple action that we can diminish, we can, and see and appreciate what we have. In that way, we develop, it's part, it's not the only, have an inner strength, development of our inner strength, coming from gratitude, coming from appreciation, coming from realization. And that can help us in the discernment of what we are supposed to be, what is our role in life. And reading a lot is very, very helpful. I encountered a very old book. Pages are already torn. And I said, oh, this is a very old book in the 60s, and it's still very, very, very valid until today. I said, don't throw it away. So read a lot. Read beyond what we have on social media, and find the truth always. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the time of our Q&A session, but I would just like to thank Dr. Jane again for such a wonderful talk. Everyone, can we get a round of applause for Dr. Jane? Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello.